Okay, Shalom. Giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakah Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and salutation you Akim out there that's been pushing this word in truth and in sincerity. This is an article from the Daily Mail. Russian officials warns Western nations that arming Ukraine with weapons risk their own destruction and will lead to a global catastrophe. There you have it. Despite Germany's donation, the country has been cautioned at each step. So now Germany, they are pledging to send Leopard 2 tanks to Germany. But prior to them sending the Leopard 2 tanks to Germany, they have been supplying them with weapons. Military aids, whether it's money or weaponry. So this is like a world's war, because not only is Germany supplying them, you got France supplying them. Poland is willing to have them tanks and everything shipped to their region and sent to Ukraine. So this is like a global world war. It says, despite Germany's donations, the country has been cautioned to at each step. Mr. Medvedev warned Russia may form an alliance with enemies of the U.S. Will Putin send another 500,000 conscripts to Ukraine? Russia's parliament officials warned the nations that are arming Ukraine with more powerful weapons risk their own destruction, which would lead to a global catastrophe. It reads, the measures allowed Ukraine supporters pledging billions. The measures followed Ukraine supporters pledging billions in military aid to the country on Friday, including armored vehicles, air defense systems, and other equipment. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're supplying them with different military aids and money. And it's like Russia is fighting against the United States and Europe, which is a world's war. And you got certain nations, such as Iran, that's helping that's helping Russia by sending drones in there and everything. But basically, Russia is really fighting this war on its own. But that's going to soon change. It says, this did not include the battle tanks Kyiv had previously requested. State Duma chairman, whatever his name is, I might be going to try to pronounce it, said supplies of offensive weapons to the Kyiv regime would lead to global catastrophe. And it reads, Russian officials have warned that nations arming Ukraine with more powerful weapons risk their own destruction. And here's the video. EU approves more military aid to Ukraine, imposes new Iran sanctions, because Iran is helping Russia by sending drones, inexpensive drones, to help aid in the Russia battle against Ukraine and the EU nations. So the EU nations approve more military aid to Ukraine and imposes new sanctions on Iran. They are allowed to, and this is the hypocrisy of these devils, they are allowed to send military aid in billions and trillions of dollars to support the most corrupt nation on the earth, the Ukraine nation, the Ukrainians, but Russia's not allowed to get military aid from no other nation. Show you the hypocrisy of these devils. It says, if Washington and NATO supply weapons that would be used for striking peaceful cities and making attempts to seize our territory as they threaten to do so, it would trigger a retaliation with more powerful weapons. And what are the more powerful weapons? Hypersonic, supersonic, and ICBM nuclear missiles. That's what they're talking about. And this is why it links up with Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, It links up with Isaiah the 34th chapter. Things is heating up. It says, the commitment made on Friday were overshadowed by defense leaders failing at the international meeting in Ramstein, Germany, to agree on Ukraine's urgent request for German-made Leopard 2 battle tanks. Germany is one of the main donors of weapons to Ukraine and have ordered a review of its Leopard 2 stocks in preparation for the possible green light. Despite this, the Berlin government has shown caution at each step in increasing its commitments to Ukraine, a hesitancy seen as rooted in this history and political culture. Isaiah chapter 34, verse 1, the Lord's wrath upon the nations. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. And who's blowing the trumpet? Who's sending this message, bringing this message out, bringing out these scriptures? The prophets. These are not our words. These are the words of Yahweh, why Yahweh Shah. It reads, for the indignation of the Lord is upon all the nations. For the indignation of the Lord Yahweh is upon all the nations. The indignation is the righteous anger of the Lord. It's upon all the nations. And his fury upon all their armies. All the armies of the world, the Lord is mustering up the host of the battle. All the armies of the world, the Lord is going to destroy them. Right, first and foremost, Esau's military and all his allies. It says, he have utterly destroyed them. How did he utterly destroy them? Do concentrated fire from them chariots and thermonuclear missiles from the hypersonic, supersonic ICBM nuclear missiles. It says, the Lord he have utterly destroyed them. He have delivered them to the slaughter. The slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses. This right here scripture links up with Jeremiah 25, verse 31 on down, where the slaying of the Lord from one end of the earth to the next. Roughly paraphrasing that scripture. This is Jeremiah chapter, I'm going to go straight to the point. 25, verse 32. Matter of fact, 31. A noise shall come up, a noise shall come even to the ends of the earth. Salaki for that. It says, this is Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 31. A noise shall come even to the ends of the earth, for the Lord have a controversy with the nations. The Lord have a controversy with the nations for what they have done to the sons of Israel. Captivity after captivity, putting hell upon his people. He will plead, that word plead means to judge. He will judge with all flesh. He will give them that are wicked to the sword, saith the Lord Yahweh. Thus saith the Lord, power of hosts. Behold, evil shall go forth from nation to nation. What's that evil? The nuclear weapons. Whether they hypersonic, supersonic, or conventional ICBM nuclear missiles. And a great whirlwind shall be raised up from the coast of the earth when Yahweh shall crack them skies with the host of angels, bringing death, destruction, and deliverance. And the slaying of the Lord shall be at that day from one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented, neither gathered nor buried. They shall be dung upon the ground. And it's saying, and this links up, and it's saying exactly what it's saying exactly the same thing in Isaiah. It says, their slain also shall be cast out, and this is Isaiah chapter 34, verse 3. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood, and all the hosts of heaven, all the armies of the rulership of Esau, and all the hosts of heaven, that word host means army, and heaven is a metaphor for rulership, shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. That's that mushroom cloud from the nuclear missiles being detonated, whether they hypersonic, supersonic, or regular ICBM nuclear missiles. It says, and all the hosts and all their hosts shall fall down, all their armies shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off the vine, and as a falling fig from a fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven, for the Lord's sword, which them nuclear missiles, them hypersonic, supersonic, conventional nuclear weapons, is the Lord's army pursuant to Joel the 2nd and the 3rd chapter, man. It says, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea. Now, Idumea is a Greek word for saying Edom. And upon the people of my curse to judgment. It's not the Lord's people. It's not Esau, the people of the Lord's curse. Was not Esau cursed with leprosy? That's a curse to look like that. It says, and upon the people of my curse to judgment, the sword of the Lord is filled with the blood, it is made fat with fatness. And the Apostle Tahar always go into this, that America is a great altar. And all the inhabitants of a land, in the land of America, is the sacrifice. America is a great big altar. The Lord's cookout, if you will. There's going to be a heavy sacrifice of all the people, all the animals in this land. All the inhabitants that dwelleth in America is going to be destroyed and burnt with fire. It says, the sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, which is a metaphor of the people. With the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord have a sacrifice in Bozrah, another ancient city that Esau dwelt in and controlled. Modern day Bozrah is America. And a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. And the unicorn shall come up, and the unicorn shall come down with them, and the bullocks with all the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dung and their dust made fat with fatness. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, the day of the Lord's vengeance upon Esau and his empire, for all the atrocity he committed against the sons of Israel. They're going to pay. It says, for it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the day and the year of recompense for the controversy of Zion. See? For all what they have done to the sons of Israel. They're going to pay for it dearly with their lives. It says, and the streams thereof shall be turned into a pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. Why? Because it's going to be thermonuclear missiles constantly fire from them chariots. When Yahweh Shah crack them skies, bringing death, destruction, and deliverance, he's going to also be destroying the infrastructure of America, zapping the wicked, whether the 2/3 of the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, or the rest of the nations, Esau and the rest of the nations that's dwelling in this land. It says, it shall not be quenched, night nor day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever, which is a long period of time. From generation to generation, it shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. This land, once it be destroyed, is going to be the forbidden zone. It's going to be a desert of wild creatures, desert animals, unclean spirits. It says, but the cormorant and the bittern shall possess it. The owl also and the raven shall dwell in it. All unclean animals, unclean birds. It says, and he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and stones of emptiness, because you're not going to know where New York was, where it ended, where it began, where Washington began, or where it ended, where Oklahoma starts and ends, where Texas starts and ends. It's going to be a desolate wilderness. That's the line of confusion. It says, you're not going to know where the Oval Office was at, where the White House was built. You're not going to know where any of them things are. It's going to be destroyed. A total desolate wilderness. That's that line of confusion. It says, they shall call the nobles, the elites of Esau, thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there, and all her princes shall be nothing, because they're going to have chains upon them. They're going to have chains about their necks, pursuant to Isaiah 24:19 on down, where the Lord's going to punish the host of the Howers that on high. Pursuant to Ezekiel, the 39th chapter, the 14th verse, where the Lord's going to set about continuing employment. The international bankers and their nobles is going to be cast headfirst into a pit with chains slapped upon their necks, their wrists, and their red-ass ankles, and their red-ass waist. It says, they shall call their nobles, they shall call the nobles thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there. And all her princes shall be nothing, and thorns shall come up in her palaces, nettles and brambles, in the fortresses thereof, and it shall be a habitation of dragons, and a court of fowls, and a court for owls. The wild beasts of the desert, shall also meet with the wild beasts in the islands, and they shall, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow. The screech owl also shall rest there. They shall find for herself a place of rest. That's going to be the end result of America being destroyed by thermonuclear destruction and concentrated fire from them chariots. Isaiah the 34th chapter is a perfect illustration, like the Apostle Tahar said, of America being a big, great altar for the sacrifice of the Lord's destruction upon this bitch. Let's get back to the article real quick. It says, if Washington and NATO supply weapons that would be used for striking peaceful cities and making attempts to seize our territory, as they threaten to do, it would trigger a retaliation with more powerful weapons, nuclear weapons. The commitment made on Friday were overshadowed by defense leaders failing at the international meeting in Rammstein, Germany, to agree on Ukraine's urgent request for German-made Leopard 2 battle tanks. Germany is one of the main donors of weapons to Ukraine and have ordered a review of its Leopard 2 stocks in preparation for a possible green light. Despite this, the Berlin government has shown caution at each step of increasing its commitment to Ukraine, and hesitancy seen as rooted in the history of political culture. It says, meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron said on Sunday that he would not rule out sending lecture battle tanks to Ukraine, and had asked his defense minister to work on the idea. There you go right there. I'm not going to play the video. It says Berlin's government has shown caution at each step of increasing its commitment to Ukraine. Mr. Macron spoke during a news conference in Paris with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, if I'm saying it right, as their countries commemorate the 60th anniversary of their post-Second World War friendship treaty. In a joint declaration, France and Germany committed to their unwavering support for Ukraine, which is going to lead to their destruction. France would make its tank decision based on 3 criteria, Mr. Macron said. that sharing the equipment did not lead to a escalation of the conflict, that it would provide efficient and workable help when training time was taken into account, and that it would not weaken France's own military. Mr. Surkov did not respond when asked about the Leopard 2 tanks on Sunday, but stressed that his country has already made sizable military contributions to Ukraine. The U.S. is doing a lot. Germany is doing a lot too, he said. We have consistently extended our deliveries with very effective weapons that are already available today, and we have always ordained all these decisions closely with our important allies and friends. Okay. It says Polish Prime Minister Mateusz, whatever his name is, said if Germany don't send Leopard tanks to Ukraine, his country would build a coalition of countries that would send theirs anyway. Germany's tentatives have been heavily has been heavily criticized, particularly from Poland and the Baltic states, countries on NATO's eastern flank controlled by Moscow in the past, and which feel especially threatened by Russia's renewed territorial ambitions. Polish Prime Minister Mateusz, I might be going to attempt to pronounce his last name, said if Germany did not consent to transforming Leopard tanks to Ukraine, his country was prepared to build a coalition of countries that would send theirs anyway. Almost a year has passed since the outbreak of war, Mr. Morawiecki said in an interview with Polish State news agencies PAP published on Sunday. Evidence of the Russian army's war crimes can be seen on television and on YouTube. What more does Germany need to open its eyes and start its act in line with the potential of the German state? It's getting crazy. Let's get back to the scriptures. So they pleasure themselves to send more weaponry and more tanks. Meanwhile, Vladimir Putin is telling them, you keep on sending all these weapons, they're going to be destroyed, and it's going to lead to a catastrophic, destruction, a catastrophe on your land. Because he's threatening nuclear missiles. It says, Ukrainian servicemen show an anti-tank missile system to the children during inactive exhibition weapons of victory, with samples of the different anti-tank. Oh man, you gotta be crazy. You gotta be kidding me, man. That's Satan right there. That was Satan. I'm gonna get it back.